Welcome back to another Stay Connected podcast. It's your host, Leo Herrera, the Connected Golfer. I'm here with Canon Claycomb today. He's a professional golfer, had a crazy good junior golf career, played at University of Alabama, stud golfer. So I really appreciate him taking his time and coming on the pod. Thanks, Canon.
Of course, bro. It's great to be back. Excited to talk tonight, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's great reconnecting with you. We haven't talked since junior golf days, so I'm excited to catch back up and chat.
Absolutely, bro. It's been a minute for real. Lots of things have happened, but it's good to talk to you again.
Yeah. So, dude, what initially sparked you to get into golf? How did it all start with you?
Yeah, so my family was around it growing up. It was always a thing like we kind of did. Grandparents, parents both played, and I was just kind of around the golf course at a young age. And then I I started playing high school golf in fourth grade, so I played like fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, all grades of high school golf. So I had a lot of experience, by the time I got to like eighth grade, of like not big tournaments, but like for me, they felt like really big tournaments, like the state championship and, regions every year. And that next level of like AJGA just didn't feel as big for me, I guess, because I'd played, a lot of high school golf. And then I'd also played a bunch of like US kids regionals and like the worlds thing. So I'd seen, like big events before I got to AJGA. And I think I was lucky enough just to have like a really good group of guys that were a little older than me when I was, like the fifth grader playing high school golf. And they, helped like they just helped me figure things out that like I wouldn't have ever figured out as a fifth grader, like this is what you're supposed to do on the greens, or like, hey, if your player's doing this, like you should do that. Like just little stuff like here and there that I learned so much about the game from. I don't want to say rednecks because I love them, but like these Kentucky boys that, like played golf as the third sport. And I was there trying to play golf as the first sport. And so it was like this nice kind of blend of like, I'm trying to be a really good player. They're trying to break 80, and we're like a team. And I think that was really cool. And it was a cool way to grow up for sure.
Dude, that's awesome. I mean, being on the team in fourth grade must have been crazy. Just like playing and like you're literally what, like 12?
Yeah, I
And
would
like
have
you're
been.
playing or even less than that.
Yeah, I think I was like 10 when I first started on the high school team. There's a couple pictures from like when I first started. I'll try and send them to you at some point. But I mean, these guys are like, if we're taking and like you know how it is with your parents, right? Like I'm in fourth grade. It's a 9-hole match. You're like your mom wants to take a picture before the tournament starts, and it's like you go up to your playing competitor, you take a picture with them. I was coming up to like their waist or like maybe their stomach, and it's like these dudes are 3-4 feet taller than me. But it was so much fun. Like looking back on it, that was like probably the most fun I've ever had playing golf because it was just so stress free. I got to leave school early because high school got out earlier than middle school and elementary school. So it was awesome. It was a great way to
That's so
learn.
cool, man. Yeah, I bet you learned so much through that experience just getting to play with older guys. And you mentioned it, the US kids, those were the days, bro. The regionals, going out to Pinehurst, playing the world championship. I mean, I remember those days. I really cherish them now looking back. What was that experience for you like?
I think it was crazy, man. Because like I said, I mean, I live in Orlando now, but I think more so than my little brother, like I feel more attached to Kentucky, and like that's kind of who I am and where I was like quote unquote raised. Um, and so like you go down to Pinehurst, right? And for the Worlds, there's like 1,000 kids there for all age groups, like 1 week, and you're playing 10 of the coolest golf courses like in the country. And it's like you go from, Bowling Green, Kentucky to like playing with a kid from Singapore or Taiwan or Africa or South Africa or Mexico, like, and you're 12 or 11, and like you don't really understand that these places, they exist, but like I didn't know anything about like Singapore. And now like one of my best friends is from
Yeah.
Singapore, Hiroshi Tai, and like we played together that week, and that was the only reason like we crossed paths. And like now our families are still like really good friends 12 years later. So I think it was like a crazy
Yeah.
experience for me as like a young kid from Kentucky who had I didn't I don't I didn't I traveled, like we were able to travel and play golf, but going to another country just seemed like so far out of the realm of possibilities. And in Pinehurst that week, like you were at 15 different places at once. So it was really cool.
No, it was awesome. I actually met Hiroshi at Pinehurst as well, which is crazy. I mean, the amount of connections that like were made there was unbelievable. I mean, what US Kids is doing just for junior golf as a whole is really a game changer, and I mean, it really enhanced my experience of the game, which is super cool. And dude, the pressure that came with those tournaments was insane. I don't know if you felt it, but I
Yeah.
mean, I remember going to those tournaments and everybody was shitting themselves. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't an easy like experience for these junior golfers. How were you able to manage it? I mean, you ended up playing pretty well in those events, from like what I recall.
Yeah. I mean, I always liked the regionals and like all of those tournaments. And I think it was a lot of pressure, but I think the difference between, maybe myself and other junior golfers was like I had parents who pushed me and like motivated me, and they were like, hey, we're here for a reason, which is to play golf. But I think the other part of that was they were never like, hey, you have to play golf. Like, if you don't want to do it, like, we won't do it. And it's fine. Like, I'll still love you regardless of if you play good or not. And I think, like, as crazy as it sounds, like, I do think there were probably some parents growing up that were like, I'm going to love you more or less depending on, like, what you shoot today. And it probably wasn't as direct as that, but,
Definitely.
like, I never played bad and had my parents mad at me for what I shot or like how I hit a shot or what I did. The only time I can ever remember like them getting upset was if I acted a fool on the golf course, if I threw things, or if I like cursed out loud. And like I think that was so big for me because it's like that if you take away the pressure at that age at least of performing for your parents, like what other pressure is there? Like I was living that week like this is the best. Like this is so fun. I'm in a different state. I'm staying in a hotel, like, and my parents don't care if I play good or not. And so like I played good because I didn't care. And I think there was just this like innocence probably when we were there where it's like, hey man, like whatever happens, happens. Like it's sick. And like after the round we'll probably go play like hide and seek or tag or something. Like we're 11 years old.
Yeah.
Like I think it was
Dude,
sick, so
that's
it's cool.
amazing, man. It's so true. The amount of pressure that these parents were giving the kids in those, especially in those tournaments, was just absolutely insane. I mean, I mean, I'm sure you came across it, but I came across a ton of parents that were just way too into it, and like, this I can only imagine the amount of pressure these kids were feeling. So for you not to like have that and have your parents be supportive and just let you be, it's definitely like a game changer. So I heard you mean you've played other sports too. Could you tell me a little bit about your experience growing up playing other sports and how that influenced your golf performance?
Yeah, so when we were in Kentucky, I played golf mainly, and then I was actually on a really, really good travel baseball team up until I was like in eighth grade. And baseball was like really what I wanted to do. And then I was a catcher. I got my nose broken in a game, and I was just like really scared to get back behind the plate ever again. And I was kind of like, it was kind of at that point too where you're deciding like, do you want to play baseball or do you want to play golf? Like, you can't play both. And I was just like, I think it's time for golf. And that was probably like seventh grade going into eighth grade. So that was when I got like really into golf. And then we moved down here full time to Orlando my freshman year of high school, into my freshman year of high school. And we were talking about it earlier, but I have a little brother, Cooper, who plays golf at Louisville, and he's a really good athlete. And we went to a really small high school. So we played basketball, golf, and tennis. And like in basketball, Cooper was the shooting guard, I was the point guard, and then it switched. I was a point guard, or I was a shooting guard, he was a point guard. And then like in tennis, we were doubles partners. I didn't play singles. I don't think he played singles. And then in golf, like I was 1 and he was 2 in the lineup. So like we were always playing these
Yeah.
competitive events, and I think it was healthy for us to come home and be like, dude, I beat the like shit out of you today, like, or vice versa. Like, there was always like that
Yeah.
competition between us, which was really cool. And I think that was like probably what kept me motivated throughout like high school to play golf was I was way worse at both of those other sports than I was golf, which humbled me a little bit and also allowed me to like play golf, be competitive at it, but take a break every once in a while when I needed it and like do something else for a week or two. And I think that was
Yeah.
really good for me.
No, that's amazing. Being able to distract yourself with other sports and you develop the hand-eye coordination with those other sports as well, the more you develop them. I have a younger brother as well. We were, super competitive as well. He plays golf mainly, but we'd play other sports, not like competitively or on a team or anything, just for fun. And that just always kept us going. So I definitely resonate. My brother's about 5 years younger than me. What's the age difference between you and your bro?
So I'm 22, about to be 23. He's 19. So it's like 3.5 years, almost 4 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect.
It's really nice,
That
man.
definitely builds you up. I mean, for me, it did.
Yeah, it was really cool too. I mean, like we had so many cool experiences in high school, but then like he ended up going to Louisville. I went to Alabama, and we got to play against each other last year in the Hate up in Jacksonville. And like, I think I finished second, and he finished fourth. And like that week was just so insane. Like, because you have your parents there, and like they're trying to pick who to watch, and like you're kind of like in front of him or behind him. He's close, and it was just like such a sick experience that like I never really thought we would get, and we did, and it was like really, really, really cool.
No, that's amazing. That's kind of a dream, dude. That's actually pretty cool. I
Yeah.
remember playing with your brother actually a couple of times in Orlando.
Hmm.
Uh, he's a good player, man. He can move it.
Yeah, he can move it. He's long off the tee, that's for sure.
So, talk to me a little bit more about the junior golf days because you were, one of the best players in the country. What were some of the biggest accomplishments that you were able to experience as a junior golfer?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I'll probably start with like how I got started in AJGA and then go from there because I think it's like such a long track, right? Like when you start junior golf, like it feels like it takes forever. And so my first
Yeah,
AJGA was a junior all star in Chateau Alon. I don't know if you ever played that one, but it was like the
I remember that one.
easy junior all star. And I remember I was like trying to build up stars because I don't know if they still use stars, but at that point, like you had to have a certain amount of stars to play in events. And I was so stressed out
Yeah.
about like getting stars, like building them up, what finish gets you a star. And I just went out and balled, honestly. The first round was 36 holes that week, and I was just hot the first day. And I ended up being tied for the lead after the first 2 rounds, which was like 36 holes one day. Um, didn't play great the second day. I think I finished like second or third, which got me like, I think it got me like 14 stars or something like that. And then I played a junior all star again the next week, finished second again, which got me like fully exempt or whatever. And then my next AJGA was the junior players. And like just by playing in it, I think I got like a fully exempt. So like it happened super fast for me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think like I got lucky in that regard was like I just played really well, really fast. Um and so I was never having to like do I have enough stars to get in this event or do I like can I get into this event? It was like I was getting invited to play these tournaments and they were like really high
Yeah.
caliber tournaments. And through that, like I got to play the Junior President's Cup my freshman year of high school. I was 15, I think. That team was nasty. We kind of talked about it earlier, but Trent Phillips was on that team. Like Trent Phillips, Michael Thorbjornsen, Carl Phillips, Jacob Bridgman. I'm sure if I like go look at pictures, there's like more guys that are just insanely good that played on it that I just forgot. But more so, like we played that week. It was at Liberty National up in New York, And then after like the tournament, our tournament concluded, we got to go walk with the players and stuff like that, like inside the ropes, be around the tournament. That was unreal. And then throughout high school, like I won the Ping Invitational, which I think to me was a really, really big deal. I actually
Yeah.
broke the scoring record there, broke the tournament scoring record there, beat Spieth's record. So that was one that I
Nice.
like keep very close to the heart. But I was able to
Course is
also play.
hard.
Yeah, of course, it's so hard, and I was just like driving it so good that week. Don't think I missed a fairway, and it was like one of the best weeks of golf I've ever played. Um, but like through that, I obviously kept getting into all these tournaments, and then I played another Junior President's Cup at the end of high school, which was in Australia, and then I played the Junior Ryder Cup when it was in Paris. So I think those three like team events were really like these events are incredible, and like if this is what professional golf is like this is what I want to do. And they were, I mean, like Junior Ryder Cup, dude, we got like golf bag, travel, hotel, expenses, and then like the full RLX polo fits that like the actual Ryder Cup team was wearing, like cashmere sweat. I mean, it was the craziest like experience that I've ever had, even like through college and stuff. Like nothing will probably compare to that other than a real Ryder Cup or a real President's Cup. And I left there, I'm like 18 years old, and it's like I've already done so much that like I don't want to say college golf isn't like hard or crazy, but it was like it just kind of felt like, hey, this is the next step. These guys are a little better. Like you just got to go play good, and you'll like keep having success. And I felt like that's kind of what it was.
Yeah. Dude, that's an insane junior golf track. I mean, uh, first of all, I want to give props to the AJGA. I mean,
Mhm.
they put together really, really good events. Like they're very competitive. To be able to come off the gates and get a couple like runner up finishes and then get into the junior players, like that's not easy to do. So like definitely got to be a really good player to get into that. I'm sure playing high school golf in fourth grade definitely prepared you for that. But
Yeah.
uh, dude, I have a question because I mean, you were able to experience all these kinds of things in junior golf, and you played alongside, like you named it, like Carl, Michael, Trent Phillips, all these guys. What do all these guys have in common that you feel like made them so good?
I think they're just really clean. And I think like I say we as professional golfers, like I haven't done much, but like I'm around all these guys. And what I noticed the most, like when you play with a really, really good player, is they kind of like lull you to sleep throughout the 18 holes. And then you go to the scorer's tent and they've shot like 66 or 67. And you're like, there's no way that's correct. And then you go back through it and it's
Yeah,
like, that was absolutely a 66. Like, no doubt about it.
yeah,
But it's just like they do everything so well. Like, I know that sounds probably dumb to say or cliche, but it's like if they drive it offline, like they find it, they hit it up around the green, and then they get it up and down. Like, or they hit it really good and they putt it decent and it's decent enough to shoot 4 or 5 under. Or they don't hit it good, they putt it great, they shoot 2 under. Like they always are making these little like fixes on the golf course where it's like if this isn't going good today, we're going to do this, and if this isn't going good, we're going to go do this, and it just always seems to add up to like an under par score. And
yeah,
I think a lot of that too is college golf was so hard. Like the way they set it up, it'd be like 2 on and 4 from the right, or 3 on and 6 from the left. Like all these setups we would play, they weren't to see who could shoot 40 under. It was to see who could shoot like 15 under as a team. And so like you get out
yeah,
there and they're already really good golfers that have played really good golf courses. And I don't want to say it doesn't feel like a step up because it's definitely a step up and those guys are insanely good. But I think like the intimidation factor for a lot of these like younger guys that are turning pro is probably a lot less than what it was 5 or 6 years ago or 7 or 8 years ago. Because I mean, like my senior year in college, like we played Olympia Fields, we played Birmingham Country Club, we played Sea Island, we played Maidstone.
yeah.
Um, like I mean all these courses that are just like insanely hard and insanely good. So it's like the next step is what? Like another really hard golf course that's really good shape. Like I've
Yeah.
seen it. I've done it.
Yeah.
Maybe at a different level,
No,
but like you've seen it and you've done it.
yeah, and college golf definitely prepares you for that level. I mean, you see it now with so many like up and coming players just getting on tour right away just because they're prepared. So to go back and into those junior golf days when you were playing so well, like what do you think gave you that edge over the competition where you felt like, wow, like I am like one of the best players, if not the best player in the field right now?
Yeah, honestly, I think in high school, I I think I was probably just a little cocky and like I I always took golf really seriously, but it was never like people like me because I'm good at golf. It was like I show up to the tournaments and my friends were there that liked me because like I was me. So like it was never I never felt like uncomfortable showing up to any of those tournaments like in junior golf where like I mean as you probably know like some of those events are 80, 90 guys and like they kind of shuffle in and shuffle out with the way like the status works on the AJGA. So like there would be, 15 or 20 new guys each week and the guys that I always saw play really well, like they were on both ends of the spectrum. Like they were either like hanging out with the boys all the time, like sleeping the least amount possible and like playing the AJGA games on the range and stuff, or they were just like complete opposite, like golf machines. And I think
Yeah.
like I was like able to find my place in that spectrum of like, hey, I'm here to play really good golf, but like I'm also here to like see my friends that I only see 8 times a year at these golf tournaments and like catch up and see what's going on. And so like when I
Definitely.
got on the golf course, like I was just like, yeah, this is kind of like what I do. Like I'm either gonna shoot good or I'm gonna shoot bad, and like we'll see how it goes. And more
Yeah.
times than often, it went pretty good. And I think I just kind of like was very confident in where I was at, and I think I was also comfortable with the AJGA at that point because I'd been playing it for 5 or 6 years by the time I was a senior in high school. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was fun, and I think too, like the experiences like that we talked about. Like I played Junior President's Cup when I was a freshman in high school. I played Sage Valley 5 times, so I played it once when I was in 8th grade. I played the Jones Cup 6 times, so I played the first Jones Cup when I was in 8th grade. So I just played all these. Like I played my first USAM when I was 14 at Riviera. Like I had just been around so many of these huge events from like a super young age, and by the time you're a senior or a junior in AJGA, you're like, yeah, bro, there's only 60 guys here. Like, you just got to beat 45 of them. That's a good week. And so, like,
Yeah.
you go out there and it's like, you play decent, like, you finish decent. And if you play bad, you'll finish bad. And I just kind of understood that, like, concept, I think, quicker than probably other people.
Yeah, no, I love that, bro. That's dope. I mean, like I said, that junior golf track was pretty darn good, and very few people I would say matched you or were at that level. That was a completely other spectrum you were operating at. I remember you seeing your name on the leaderboards a ton, and like you were top ranked junior golfer. So it was like, what is this guy doing that like I'm not doing? And it just seems like it was so simple. Like you didn't care. Like you just went out there and just trusted what you got and like went out there and did it. So for you, how was your transition from junior golf to college golf? Because I mean, for me, I definitely like it was a big shift. I thought, although I didn't. I mean, I played some of the invitationals, but I only got to play my senior year. Um, but I mean, it was a bit of a transition, especially at a D1, school like Alabama, where all these guys are really, really good. How was that transition for you?
Yeah, so, I mean, my transition was actually really crazy because like I said, like, I had played all those tournaments so many times that by the start of my senior year in high school, I was like, I think I'm ready to kind of move on and like be done with junior golf. Um, and so I graduated high school in December and enrolled in college in January. So I was like barely 18 years old, just moved into college in December, which like is kind of tough to do because everybody enrolls in, May or August. So like I had missed that freshman class already, and everybody was kind of grouped up, and like all I really had at that point was like my team and like the 11 transfers slash like newly enrolled kids that are student athletes at Bama. So that was weird. And then I played two events. We played Puerto Rico um, sometime in January. I finished like 11th, and then we played Cabo like 2 weeks later. I finished ninth. So I was actually playing like really, really solid golf, and the golf wasn't too hard of an adjustment for me. And then literally like the week after Cabo, COVID happened. And so like we all got sent home. So I'd been in college for like 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks, like finally just settled in. And they were like, hey, we need you to go home, like pack everything. Like, we don't know when you're coming back. We just need you to get out as fast as possible. So like I literally packed my dorm because at that point we were living in a dorm with three other golfers, and we just all packed our stuff and got out like within 24 hours, which was such a crazy experience. Like, especially
Wow.
for me, like a bunch of the guys on Bama's team at that point were from like Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, and they were just like 4 hours from home. Like I was in Orlando, I'd just gotten dropped off at school, and I was driving a pretty small car at the time. Didn't have my parents to help me move out. So you pack this small car like with literally everything you have and then drive 10 hours back home, and you get home and everything's close too. So it was like the weirdest experience ever. And then coming back from COVID, like I played horrible probably for 6 months, like really, really bad golf. Like probably didn't play enough golf over COVID and really struggled my sophomore year, which was technically still, I guess, my freshman year. Um, but I think like after the whole COVID thing chilled out and we were able to like play against normal competition again and like travel. And I say normal competition because like when we came back from COVID that season, you were only allowed to play teams in your conference. So we were playing like the hardest schedule possible every week of the year, like 14 or 12 SEC teams, 12 SEC teams every week. And it was like, if you didn't have your best stuff, you were going to get lapped. And I think I
Yeah.
just lost a lot of confidence like in those few weeks and built it back over college. But the transition from high school to college for me was so crazy just with the whole COVID situation and the early enrollment in college and all that stuff. So
Yeah, I remember that time, bro. It was insane. I mean, I actually went and stayed in my dorm. I was in the dorm by myself. I had my roommate was from Russia, so it was just me. We would just go out and practice, but like we didn't have any tournaments. It was just weird the whole time. So it's definitely a weird transition, weird era. But like you mentioned though, like I mean, you had a great junior career, and you still went through that like kind of slump in college. And like for you being alongside, those types of players, like did your confidence ever get like shot in a way when you went through that kind of slump, or were you still like confident in your game and you was going to come back?
yeah, no, I mean, like, I literally at one point, like, into my sophomore year, I'd played bad basically the entire year. And I was driving it all over the place, like, out of bounds, out of bounds, out of bounds, hazard. It was everywhere, left, right, like, so bad. And we were like, we were really solid, but we were not like deep at that point at Bama. This was like after I think two or three seniors had graduated, or maybe they were their senior year, but a couple of them were hurt. And it was like, I just kept falling into that five spot. So I was like having to play, but I was also like going out there, like knowing that it wasn't going to go good. And that was such a hard place to be in because it's like, at that point, like, I don't care what my ranking is. I don't care like what spot I'm playing on the team. Like, you're in the lineup, so you want to play as good as you possibly can for the other four guys. Like, forget yourself at this point.
Yeah.
And so like there were literally setups where like it'd be 7,400 yards and I would just hit 2 iron off every tee and like get it as close to the green as I could and like just chip and putt and try and make a par and like try and shoot 73 or 72 or 71 and like it was honestly miserable for a long time. Like if you play that way where it's just you're constantly in fear of like where the ball is going to go off the tee. It really sucked.
Yeah, it's
And
terrible.
yeah, and I, honest to God, like, I didn't change anything. Like, I changed a ton trying different things and doing different stuff. And the end of that year, we were like right around 500. We were probably 19th or 20th in the country just because of our strength of schedule. And we had a really good senior in Wilson Furr, which he's on the PGA Tour now, but he was carrying all of us at that point. And Thomas Ponder was playing pretty good. But I literally gone into the club locker at Bama, which were like we would just have dozens of clubs like laying in this one locker free to take and try. I took the like 2018 or 2019 ping like max head, and at that point I was playing a TaylorMade sim, and I just started hitting this driver and it was spinning like 3400, 3500, like way too much, but it was drawing and it was like staying in play. And I was like, this might be it. Like I might be back. And put it in play like the day before we left for the SEC tournament. Ended up finishing like 20th that week or 18th that week, which like I felt pretty good about because my best finish like the rest of the season had been 40th or 45th. We ended up finishing second in stroke play, like beat South Carolina that week in match play. Ended up losing to Vandy, which I think they ended up winning it all that year, maybe. But it was just like that one like quick round of golf where it was like I'm not out of bounds. Like I'm back in play. It's not going any like farther than 265, 270, but that's way better than 240. And like I can now compete again and like build off of this. And that's just what I did.
Yeah.
Like I went full through the bag ping after that and just started playing really solid again, and it was so much more fun.
Yeah. I actually have the ping driver too. It's a game changer. I've been hitting a lot more fairways with it myself. I think that's the best driver. As far as accuracy goes, definitely recommend anyone watching this or hearing this get yourself a ping driver if you want to hit some fairways.
Absolutely, yeah. If you like playing out of the short
So,
stuff, I would get a ping.
So how was it playing with those guys too? Because I mean, Nick Dunlap was on your team as well. Now he's kind of blown up and on tour. You mentioned Wilson Furr. How is it seeing these guys now on the PGA Tour? Does that give you another level of confidence knowing like I was alongside these guys for these years in college? Like I know I can make it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, Wilson Furr, like he was a teammate of mine for 2 years. Davis Shore was on those teams as well. Um, he's like, I think he's inside the number currently on Corn Ferry, but I'm not for sure on that. I was teammates with Frankie Sappin for a year. Like he just got his card.
Yeah.
And then obviously, like you said, Dunlap. But I think honestly, like for me as a player, being around Davis and Wilson at the beginning was so much more influential than being around Nick. Um, just because like at the point when I met Wilson and Davis, like I was the like shithead cocky freshman that came in and was like, oh, yeah, I'm here. Like, get ready. And
Yeah.
like I saw them play and I'm like, oh, they can do this like every time. Like they don't have to get hot to shoot 65. Like they just shoot 65. And that was
Yeah.
such an eye-opening experience for me. Like I probably spent like if you total it up, like probably a month just watching Wilson chip and like learning how to chip. And I would hit 3 or 4 shots. I'd watch him hit 15 and just be like, hey, how'd you do that? Hey, what are you thinking there? Hey, it's into the grain. Like, how do you hit that shot? Or it's down grain. How do you hit that shot? Like, just doing stuff like that, where it was like, I learned so much about the game of golf, like in a 6 month period that I was already like really good at the sport. And now I had this enhanced knowledge of like how to play the game from a guy who's really good. And it just like all kind of clicked really fast for me after that sophomore year. And then inversely, like Nick was like obviously a baller when he came to school. So like when he came to school, I'm in the position where I'm like, oh, the freshman, like he's really good. Like we can count on him and like rely on him. Whereas like he probably came in and was like, these guys are average. Like we're gonna be decent, but I'm really good. Not that he said that or did that, but like he was a world beater before he got to college. and then we were just kind of there like to help him get to the PGA Tour, which is like where we knew he always was going to be. So I think like Nick was probably more like Wilson and Davis, and I was probably a little more like Wilson and Davis to him. But I think I probably learned more from Wilson and Davis as the younger person listening to older people. And then like me and Nick are super close now, which is like really nice for me because I just talk to him like he's normal, and he's probably getting like media requests from so many people and having to sign autographs, and I just call him and I'm like, hey, what's up, bro? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's so dope, bro. I mean, it's crazy how many tools these guys have in the back of their pocket. They just like know they have so many shots that you won't even imagine. Like, they keep their game really simple, but they just know how to execute just a variety of different shots that one won't even think about. And that's why I loved like being in college, like just alongside really good players. Learning from them was a game changer, just being in that environment. So
Yeah.
now, as a professional, could you tell me a little bit about that transition and how you went from college now turning pro? You just played Q school over in Europe. You got through the first stage, I saw.
Mhm.
You're going over to the next stage now. Could you tell me about that professional golf now transition?
Yeah, absolutely. And so like we finished college, and then I went straight from PGA Tour University, that program. I was like 17th or 18th on that, so I got full Canadian Tour status. So literally like 3 weeks after college finishes, ship up to Canada, and I played 10 events. I think it was 10 events. 10 events in like 13 weeks. And I mean, in college, like we would play 10 events in 10 months, like with postseason and everything. So you go from, having
Yeah.
like a tournament and then 2 weeks, a tournament, a week, a tournament, like 2 weeks, where it was like, hey, you're going to Victoria, Canada. You're getting there Sunday, practice round Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get on a flight Sunday, fly to Edmonton, Canada, play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get on a plane, fly to the next. Like, it was just so much travel that I wasn't used to. In that, like, I'd traveled a bunch, but never that quickly, like back to back to back to back. And
Yeah.
I think, like, for me, the biggest transition to pro golf was how do you manage Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Because, like, there were a couple of times where the stretches would be 4 weeks in a row. And so, like, you've made the cut in the first two events. You've played 14 rounds of golf in 2 weeks if you play all the practice rounds, and you're exhausted. Like, there's nothing left
Yeah.
in the tank. And so, I think for me, like, what I started doing later on in the season, which I think is probably how I need to do it moving forward, would be I would play like 9 holes on Monday, 9 holes on Tuesday, and then take off Wednesday, just go to the range, putt, whatever, make it a pretty short day, and then get ready to play like Thursday morning. And I think that was the hardest thing. And
Yeah.
going back to like knowing Nick, like Nick probably, I gave him a little advice while I was at school, but I learned a lot from him while I was at school as well. And I just called him like a couple times and was like, hey man, like how are you doing this? Like, is there a schedule? You have a routine? And I think it's different for everyone, but like just I think being able to talk to these guys and like get some insights on like how the world of professional golf is like really helped a lot.
Yeah. It's constant action. That's crazy. I mean, being able to play 10 events in 13 weeks, that's a lot of golf. And it definitely
Yeah,
wears and tears, especially when you're traveling up, places like Canada. Like you're moving, you're not just like
that's a big
driving
country,
a
man.
couple hours.
Well,
Yeah.
and like also
I
I
bet.
think too, like what people don't understand is like Canada goes right into Q school season basically. Like you get a little time off. But like for me, I played the last event in Canada, didn't qualify for the tour championship. So I came home that Sunday, went Thursday of the next week. I flew to Vienna, Austria for DP World Tour. So like I just went from Edmonton, Canada, back to Orlando, and then Orlando to Austria, and then Austria back. And it's like you get home, dude, and you're like, I'm so exhausted. Like I don't want to get out of bed for a week. And it's just
Yeah.
like such a crazy travel, man, and it's such a packed schedule, but it's so much fun at the same time.
How have you been able to handle it? I mean, you mentioned playing the nine holes, and then kind of taking it off, but like, in general, like, how have you been able to like mentally like stay connected through that process?
Yeah, I mean it's really tough. Like it is really tough. And I was lucky enough to have my girlfriend come to a few events that helped a lot, just having someone there. But there was also like a crew of guys that I was like I felt like I got pretty close with. I hope they would agree. And it was Bryce Lewis, Hunter Woolcott, and Michael Barnard, or not Michael Barnard. Oh my God, what's his name? Michael played at Wake Forest. Michael Brennan. I get them two mixed up
Yeah,
all
Brennan. Yeah.
because Hunter and Bryce are
So
like
you were
good friends.
traveling with these guys?
Yeah, we were getting like Airbnbs, man, like each week, and like I just think that was so much better from a golf
Yeah.
standpoint than like going hotel to hotel. Like there were a couple weeks where we'd be like, "Hey man, like I think we're just going to get a hotel this week. Like need a little downtime to ourselves. Like it is what it is." But like you get those 4 weeks in a row where like you're traveling as a group, you're staying in a house, like people are up making breakfast in the morning, like we're eating dinner at night together. Like I think it just kept me sane. And Michael actually had an awesome caddy with him for most of the tournament as well, or most of the season as well. So like we had that group of like 5 guys, and up in Canada, like we would go to dinner, we would hang out on the practice green after rounds, we would like encourage each other after good rounds, even if we played bad. Like it just felt like college golf all over again, but instead of like we're on the same team, it's like, hey, I understand what you're going through right now, and you understand what I'm going through right now. So like we might as well make it like suck as small as possible, which like is crazy
Yeah.
because we're playing golf for a living, but it's like it's a hard living and it's exhausting, and we were like able to hang out and be cool with each other, and I think that saved me over the summer.
That makes a ton of sense. I would definitely go down that route if I were doing that. I mean, it'd be tough to just be traveling on your own, and be doing it. You'd go a little insane for sure.
Yeah. And like Thomas Ponder was in that group as well. So like I did have a teammate of mine that like I had lived with for 3 years that was doing the same thing as well. So like I think I was just able to surround myself around people that I was familiar with, and I think that just made it so much easier. And it's tough, man. It's
Yeah.
it's hard to find.
Yeah, definitely. So what's next for you, bro?
So I have second stage of DP World Tour qualifying the end of the month. It's over in Spain. We haven't gotten our locations yet. We get them October 9th, but I'm probably going to fly to Spain on the 27th. I'll play that and then hopefully get through second stage, go directly into final stage, also over in Spain. So try and get status on DP World Tour. And then first week of December is Corn Ferry Tour second stage. So I have that as well. Same thing after second stage goes right into final stage. So I've got 2 good opportunities coming up, 2 really big opportunities actually coming up. And I think I'm just kind of playing like little Monday, like money game professional events and some like G Pros, all pro stuff like that. Um, just trying to keep the game sharp and yeah, take advantage of those 2 big opportunities because second stage, doesn't come around all the time.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. I'm wishing you all the best. You definitely got the talent in the game to be able to do it. And I mean, you just shared with us your entire life story, basically. And, it definitely goes to show what your commitment to the game and what you're capable of doing. So I'm sure it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Only thing I'll say is apologies to Michael Brennan. He's a good buddy of mine. I didn't forget your name. It's just I get those 2 mixed up. But I appreciate you letting me
No,
come
it's
on,
like,
talk about it. I love doing these podcasts and stuff. So I'll probably have to try and come on again if people like it. But I think the only thing is, we talk a lot about like how how great professional golf is and how awesome it is, and it really is. But I think for any golfer listening out there, like, don't take it super serious. Like, it's just a game, and at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like, it's all gonna be okay. Like, if you don't play golf at the end of the day, maybe that's what it's supposed to be. And I think just enjoy every minute you get, whether you're a pro or a 25 handicap. Like, it's a sick game and it takes you some sick places, and I think you should just kind of try and cherish every moment you get.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of people could take value from that. I mean, to wrap it up, I want to ask you one last question. What do you think the most important lesson golf has taught you about life?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Honestly, I think it's taught me. Well, I think it's taught me two main things that I carry with me like every day. The first one is just how to understand people and how to communicate with people. Like, we've all played with people that throw things and slam stuff and yell, and that's probably a bad character trait. Like, you probably shouldn't do that. But if you connect it to work or daily life, like, you pass someone in the grocery store, they're rude, they might not actually be a rude person. Like, they might just be having a bad day, and that's okay. Like, people have bad days. So golf has taught me how to understand people, how to listen to people, how to kind of like pick up on traits someone might have just by, watching them for 4.5 hours, which we do on the golf course.
Yeah.
But the second big one I think is just taught me, like, you have to like love yourself and enjoy who you are as a person before you can expect to have any success like on the golf course, right? Like, for a long time in college when I was going through that slump, like, the game felt like I was as good of a person as what I shot that day. So if I shot 66, like, I felt like I was a good person. And if I shot 75, I was like, I'm a horrible person. Like, there's no reason you should be doing this. Like, you're holding everybody back. And at the end of the day, like, it's such a fickle game, man. Like, one round, one shot, one tournament, like, whether it's the final round of Corn Ferry qualifying school or the first round of like your club championship, like, the sun's going to come up again tomorrow. What you shoot doesn't determine how good or bad of a person you are. Like, how you act and how you treat others is actually how you measure that. And I think, like, the game is a game. Like, treat it as a game. We're really good at it as professional golfers. Like, take pride in that and be proud of yourself and what you've done. And like, if you've gotten to the point where you're a professional golfer, like, you're a great golfer, man. You've done it. Like, enjoy it. And if you're not, like, enjoy it for what it is. You're not
Yeah.
great at it, but it's a sick game, and go play it. So I think those two things have taught me a lot about golf, a lot about life, and a lot about myself. And I think that's kind of like the triangle that you're mixed up in when you're playing golf is, golf, life, and self.
My man, thank you so much for that, dude. I love that. What a message right there. What a story. I really enjoyed my time with you, and you appreciate you sharing your story for me and for others listening as well. So, wishing you all the best, like I said, and stay connected, brother.
Absolutely, bro. I'm gonna come down to Miami, or you come up to Orlando. We'll play sometime soon.
100%. We're making it happen.
All right, see you, dog. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, bro.